Have you ever bought a bunch of flowers from the supermarket and wondered where they've come from? Because how can you be getting roses in the middle of February? Well, it's because the flower industry is a huge industry and it grows flowers thousands of miles from wherever you are, in general, certainly here in the UK, and they then pump the flowers with loads of chemicals so that they stay fresh for as long as possible, obviously because of the transport. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I like my flowers fresh, and that's what started me growing my own flowers. So in this video, I'm going to cut some flowers from my garden and create a vase full of seasonal summer flowers to enjoy in the house here in the UK in June. If we haven't met before, I'm Nicola. I'm a gardener from Shropshire in the UK, and I want to help you grow your own flowers so that you can fill your house full of homegrown flowers with the minimum fuss, with the minimum money, and with the minimum time. So you're producing productive, efficient, cheap flowers just for you. Okay, so to start with, it's the evening or coming on to the evening, so it's a cooler part of the day, and I'm gonna get ready to cut the flowers. I have my trusty tools with me, so a nice sharp pair of snips and a bucket of clean fresh water. The bucket's been cleaned out, so no germs are going to get in there, and we're ready to go. It's good to have a clean bucket to cut into, and it's good to have clean water to cut into, because once you've cut a fresh stem, if there's dirt in the water, then that can block up the water from going up the stem and really making the flower in the best condition as possible to last as long as possible. So we don't want to be blocking up any of the stems, so we have clean water to start with. Now I'm going to start, I have a tendency to go a little bit overboard. I kind of want to keep it to 30 stems-ish, because I know that fills the vase I want to use quite nicely. I might cut a little bit extra to fill a few jugs here and there, but generally I'm looking at about 30 stems. And I think I should easily be able to find it in the cutting patch, and I have some roses that could be picked in the main garden that I'm going to go to later. So let's start going through picking some of the flowers that we've got. So I am starting with the lupins, which are just behind me. They have been fabulous this year, absolutely fabulous, and they're still growing more now. Let me show you. So all of my lupins are in this perennial bed here. They have been flowering since mid-May, and it is now the end of June. So this is pretty good going, in my opinion. Very good value for money. And if you'll notice, I have cut back some of the seed heads, and so now what we've got are smaller little seed heads coming up. So they're not the tall flowers that they once were, as you can see from, well, if I step back, as you can see from this one here. This one's been a long spire, but it's now going a bit to seed, but the smaller ones are equally nice, just perhaps not so dramatic. So this isn't too bad a size, so I can take that, and it's best to and the one behind it over here is pretty good. It's best to cut whilst there still is some unopened buds at the top, because that means there's still some flowers to open. And even in this one here, which is a longer one, and it is going over at the bottom here, there are some dead petals. At the top there's still a bit, but if I was selling these flowers, I wouldn't be using this one, but I would be using the one at the back. But lupins tend to still grow in the vase, so they form wacky shapes, and so cutting them whilst there's still some flowers to bloom is a good thing. If we look at this purple one here, there isn't so much of a point at the top, so they're all open, so that's pretty much done with, and we just go to seed with that now. So I'm going to pick some of these pink ones, I think, and see what we have there. Right, so I'm going to, now I've cut some lupins, I'm trying to restrain myself, so I've cut some lupins. I'm going to cut this some achillea, so there's some lovely pink colour here, there's a paler pink over in the back there, and further afield by the greenhouse there's a lot more different colours and varieties. Well, actually, even within this section here there's some different ones, so I'm going to cut some different colours but all in the same sort of tones. That'll add a nice filler to the arrangement, and it's kind of disc shaped, so it's a different, we've got the spikes of the lupin, so we've got some nice discs here. I will be cutting a few strands of this gorgeous geum. This equally has been flowering forever, and you don't need many stems of this to really make an impact and add a touch of whimsy to an arrangement. So even though it's bright orange, it kind of makes everything pop. So I'll be adding a little bit of that. I'd dearly like to add some of these poppies, but cutting them now at this stage, the leaves, the petals will fall off within a couple of days. So there's not much point cutting those. They're better off being in the garden and looking special there. If I can find any that are about to pop, so this one here is about to pop, so that one will continue growing in the vase and will open up and add a surprise in a couple of days' time. So if I can find a few more that are going to open up, then I will add those in. And also these alliums are just starting to get special, so if you can see, they start off with green heads, then they gradually fill out into red, so that they're coming up like this now. So I might add a few of those to add a bit of drama. And what else have we got? So we've got some filler, we've got some spikes, we've got some discs, we've got some feverfew over in the back there, the white over there is a bit of filler as well, and daisy-like structure. And then we have some sweet williams that's still flowering like billio, so I might pick a few of those to add in. And then once I have done that, I'll see where we are, because as I say, I do tend to go overboard and pick lots, so I'm kind of hoping that I can get away with just a few more rose stems from the main garden, and then maybe, oh, I know what I'm going to have. I'm also going to have this bupleurum. Actually, it's not bupleurum, it's cerinthe, and it's looking fabulous at the moment. So I'll add that in for some foliage, along with some Achillea mollis, and I think that will do. As is usually the case, my 30 stems kind of got away with me, and I stopped counting. So there's probably more than enough here to make a one jug of flowers, but hopefully it should really create something that packs a punch. All beautiful. So now they're all sitting in the clean water. I'm going to take it into the barn where it's cool and dark and leave them to sit and drink for the night, and I'll make the arrangement in the morning and I'll show you how I do that. So the flowers have all conditioned in their bucket overnight, and so I am now getting ready to put them into a vase. Now I have a selection of vases just because I went a bit overboard, so the intention was just one vase of flowers was all that was required. Chances are I'm going to have a whole lot more. So what I'm going to do is lay out everything I've got so I'm not fiddling around in the bucket, pulling them apart and wrecking them. So I'm going to lay them all out onto the work surface. So I've now laid everything out. I've definitely overpicked my flowers here. I have masses, so I should have enough to fill that. Blue vase is the main one, and then I've got jam jars and a few other jugs that we shall see what fits, see how much I've got left over, but I should have plenty to go through everything else. So I shall set to and get things in motion. So there we have it, 2 arrangements. I'm going to call them rustic, as is my way. I tend to make them a little bit unstructured, should we call it? That might be better, unstructured arrangements. So one here, the main one. So we've got the lupins, roses, feverfew, etc. And then this is the offcuts, so a bit more thrown together. They will only be facing one direction, so as long as I've got the nice side on display, we should be okay. So these flowers, or these arrangements, have only been made possible because I used perennial flowers. So a lot of them are perennial flowers, and that I sowed from seed last year. So we have the feverfew making a statement in there, and of course the achillea, or in all of its different colours, and then the spikes of the lupins, which are always rather wonderful. So if I've inspired you to grow some flowers of your own, take a look at this video to see what flowers I would recommend, perennial flowers I would recommend for growing from seed. They're the best value you can do for minimum effort. And you get flowers, it would seem, for months on end. So what's better than that? Or if you've never grown anything from seed before, check out this video and that will show you the basics for starting from seed. Until next time, it's been lovely sharing this time with you, and I'll see you again soon.